Hello, this is a short video on trying to unpack what we mean by cause. When we use the word cause in our everyday language, we generally hide the fact that there are at least three different things, or three different things I'll focus on. Um, that we could be referring to when we use the word cause. If we look on page 200 of the text, it outlines these three distinctions, and I think this is quite important. The first way we refer to cause, and that is the way that we generally think we are referring to it, particularly in sciences or in day-to-day problem solving, is in the physical relation between cause and effect. So it concerns physical objects and how one object moves another object. So that's kind of the general way we understand what cause means. Logic, however, also deals particularly with a different notion of causality. That is the logical relation between premises and conclusion. So it's it's so in that sense, logic isn't dealing with causality in the physical world. It is not directly describing cause and effect as it occurs in nature. Um, the third idea of cause is the psychological relation between motive and act. So that's kind of a whole. I think we'll leave that aside because the whole problem of of causality in regards to consciousness and motivational theory, and free will decision making. That it's a massively complex area. Although there are a lot of interesting papers coming out in the field of cognitive neuroscience. Like I always remind my students, pick up the journals, Scientific American, New Sciences, get a sense of the latest developments in cognitive neuroscience, and then you can trace back those popular articles back to the scientific articles. So that field is constantly changing. We're not concerned with the psychology of decision making and experience of causes. We're not even concerned with uh, the physical relations and between cause and effect in the natural world. Logic is really just concerned with the logical relation between premise and conclusion. That's all. So that is the domain of logic. That's all it aims to achieve. However, it does this with an eye to explaining the first definition of cause, that is the physical relation between cause and effect in the natural world. So it tries to mimic, it tries to imitate, it tries to provide it tries to model what's actually happening in the physical world in its logical relations. That's why it's important to get the terms as clear as possible, and to make sure that the terms, attempt to ensure that the terms reflect the physical objects in the natural world as close as possible. So the hope is that our deductions mirror, or at least come close to reflecting causal processes in the natural world. This was a project that was taken to extremes in logical positivism, particularly by Wittgenstein. Um, it was shown that, well, ultimately, uh, there is a divide, there is a gulf that logic can't cross over. That ultimately we are dealing with logical relations between premise and conclusion, and so. But even having said that, it, it, sh- it shows that what logic does is, and all scientific rationality and reasoning uh, more broadly does, is it creates models of the world, simplified models. It reduces physical objects and physical relations of causality to logical relations between premises and conclusions. So all our scientific rationality, all our logical reasoning is akin to constructing a simplified model where objects are replaced by terms. So, a physical object is infinitely complex. You can unpack, you can explore, you can analyze a physical, even the most simple physical object, such as my coffee cup, in a number of ways, from a chemical way, from from a point of view of physics, from geometry, from the point of color theory, from numerous perspective, from an experiential perspective. But what logic does is reduce the this object, the cup, to a simple term, cup, and then places that within a deductive context, within a syllogism. So it's a simplified model. Logic is a simplification of the natural world in order to provide a in order for us to provide at least reasonable explanations or predictions of the natural world by creating simple models. That's all, particularly syllogisms. That's all syllogisms are. They're simplified. They're simplified models. Uh, you know, uh, and they hold true at least in regards to the content, the logical content, and the relations between the terms. That's all we can really say, even if a perfectly valid logical act of reasoning, a perfectly valid syllogism is ultimately inadequate in explaining the, the complex natural phenomena in the world we experience in our day-to-day lives.